Welcome, everybody, to Of the Publishing Persuasion. I'm Angela Montoya, author of Sinner's Isle and A Cruel Thirst. And I was just told that I have a sexy voice by
Oh,
Arlene Abundis.
she's not wrong, especially
Yeah,
when you lean in like this.
thank you. Thank you. Anyway, I'm here with I'm here with an even sexier face and body and lips and hips. Put the tongue away, Melanie. I'm here with Melanie Schubert. Melanie. Oh, actually, hold on. I forgot.
Yeah.
I I have a stopwatch.
Oh
We're
yeah.
gonna we're gonna
I hate
time
it.
we're gonna time this. We're gonna shorten our intro a little bit because we have two recordings this week, and
Yeah.
because we are both working our asses off
But extra
writing,
episodes, extra
but
episodes
extra
for our
episodes. Yeah.
listeners. What's that book behind your head? That looks lush.
Which one? Oh,
That's
right here.
yeah,
That
what's
one?
that? Is it say burn?
That is,
Born.
yeah, it's Together We Burn by Isabel Ibanez, who we've had on the show.
Oh, it's the
That
hot
is
cover.
yeah, that's an Owl Crate special edition.
Mm,
Oh, yeah.
it's
It's
gorgeous.
gorgeous. It
Yeah.
is. It's so pretty. I got it when I went to Y'all Fest. I was hanging out with the Owl
Mm,
Crate crew
yeah.
and snagged that one. Didn't
Amazing.
steal it.
Really
They were
iconic.
giving it away. They were giving it away.
Yeah. I keep meaning to ask you about this sweater. Every time I wear it, I forget. It's my fave, my drag queen tarot card. I'm like, what did you search to find this sweater? I've been dying to ask you. Listeners, Angela bought me this glorious sweater. It feels like a very lucky sweater, I have to say. And it's a queen of like a tarot queen card, right? But it's a
Yeah.
queen of drag because she knows
Yes.
I love RuPaul's.
I do. I feel like I probably just searched up like RuPaul stuff on Etsy or
That's
something.
it.
And
Amazing.
yeah, yeah, simple. But I saw that design. I was like, oh, that belongs on Melanie's
Yeah,
body,
it
on
does.
her chest.
So cozy. And now it's finally freezing enough to wear it.
Lucky you. Lucky you.
Lucky. How have you been this week, my friend?
I've been good. I have been working my buns off on my top secret project,
Yeah.
and I made it to the end. It wasn't a
Hey,
satisfying end.
you finished.
Yeah, I finished.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but
Congratulations.
thank you. Thank you.
No.
I finished writing it. We're celebrating. Yay.
Yeah.
It's only like 72K.
Mm.
It's a short first draft. The ending
Yeah.
I'm not sure about, but I got there.
Don't stress about plumping it up too much though, because I'm hearing that like that's what Mama Jo Queen said, lower word counts trending. That might be perfect.
Yeah.
You're
No,
going
I
back.
I we're doing good. I'm going back and like tweaking things and so I sent out the first like 50 pages to some friends, some readers. So I'm getting a few little bits of feedback. And I think we're heading in the proper direction. So that's good.
Okay, what do the readers say? Tell us what they
No, I mean, I haven't heard much to be honest, but so far just Carolina, who I love, who I wrote, who I named
Yeah.
my character Catalina after her in A Cruel Thirst. She was just kind of like, oh, I love these vibes. I'm getting the vibes, and I'm like, yes, that's all I need to hear is the vibes. The vibes are vibing. We're good. How are you? What are you up to?
Yeah, good. I'm humming along with well, I shouldn't say humming. Like I'm really consciously trying to blast through this revision now because I think even though I thought I was blasting through, it's only on this weekend I've realized I can unlock another level of because I want to do this one fast. I just want to like rush. It's like imagine you walk in a room and like you just want to take all the pink out of the room. I'm just rushing through the room, taking all the pink out right now, and then I'm gonna focus on redecorating it properly second time. Do you know what I mean? Because right now,
I love that not analogy. I've never heard that. Like, did you just make that up?
Yeah.
That's brilliant. I love that.
You're too good to me. I literally just pulled that out of my ass right now. But that's how it feels to me, like, or at least I'm trying so hard to do that because I think I was still like picking up other things, looking at it. And then on the weekend, we went to a cafe and I was like, okay, just like, I was like, oh, I haven't touched it all day. And I really wanted to be just doing at least a bit every day to stay in the world. And I was like, oh, I'm not even in the mood, rah, rah, rah. And I was like, oh, just open it and just like look at it, just read it. And like I kind of wasn't in the frame of mind at all. And I knew it wasn't perfect revising what I was doing. And yet I was pulling out all the things naturally that do not belong with the new storyline. So I was just
Mm.
like, once I realized I did 1,300 words in half an hour that we were at the cafe, because essentially I was just reading and I did not let myself linger on rewording anything because I couldn't focus on, I was like, oh, I'm nearly finished my coffee. I just do a little bit. But yeah, in the end, that's what I'm trying to do now. Just do this very focused, removing the old story thread, shoving in the new one in a way that feels doable for this first draft. Because if I try and make it all fit, if I try type every loose end, I'd be writing it for another 10 years right now. So that's the plan.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I want to go back to something you just mentioned, which is so valuable too, but it was, you didn't feel like it, but you did it anyway. And I think like for writers a lot, especially when we first start, it's like when we're feeling that magic, when we're feeling fancy,
Yeah.
and that's when we're like, oh, that's when I'm gonna write. But a lot of times we don't feel that fancy fire, but we still gotta open the laptop and do it anyway. And then magic happens anyway. Or
Mm,
sometimes it doesn't, and you're slogging through
yeah.
and you want to, cry. But you won't know until you open that laptop. You got to sometimes force it.
Thank you for taking me to write a church right now. And like I so agree with that, like deeply in my bones. I think you should be on fire for your project when you come up with the idea. Like even today I had this idea for a new anthology piece and I I was almost late to recording because I could not rest until I put out the skeleton idea. And that is important too. I actually would say coming up with the idea should feel like that. For me personally,
Mm.
I would not
Hmm.
advise anyone to work on something that doesn't feel exciting at the start like that. However, I think what you've said is so powerful. Like career wise as a writer, you are not going to carry that fire every step of the way of working on this because it's such a long, also human emotion doesn't work like that. It fluctuates. You're depressed, then you're on cloud nine, then you're like flat, then you're like emo, then you're like giddy. Like our emotions are such a broad range. And I don't think we should expect ourselves to feel that high constantly. But yeah, it feels fucking shit when it's like low like that. But what I will say is when I push through that flatness and just read it, just read it. Don't expect anything of yourself. My brain just started doing the thing and picking up the errors. And I was like, oh, I guess we're revising now. Was it my best revision? No, but I did it, you know?
Hell yes, I do. Well, I was talking about this with Margie Fuston, who we love. She's on the two-timer list. She's not a three-timer yet.
Not
Well,
yet.
I think we have to get her on. But anyway, Margie Fuston, who we adore, who is a goddess. I was out to lunch with her one day after we did like a library event.
No.
And just casual, just hanging out with Margie Fuston, author, of the Revenant Games.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I was just chit-chatting with her and I was like, oh, I have this like adult, romantasy book, and I pretty much have it all plotted out. But I just don't feel like this. And I did it first, like you said. I did it first. But I was just telling her, "Oh, I don't know if I feel like this fire, like this burning need." And she
Yeah.
was like, but you have it plotted out? I said,
Yeah.
yeah, I have the whole thing chapter by chapter pretty much plotted out for this romantasy, sexy, slutty book. And she was like, well, then just write it.
Yeah.
Like your brain has already done the work for you. Just write it. It's and see where it goes. I mean,
Yeah.
hell, if anything, you write it and you have a book and you can sub it out to somewhere. So yeah, but the initial spark was so there. And
Mm,
then I think because of our pantser brains, once you do plot it all out, you're like, oh, well, I know the ending now.
yeah, maybe.
Um,
We get
so
bored because we already told ourselves a story. But I
yeah.
think if you felt that fire in the start, maybe we should trust that like that a reader will feel that. And that's why I say I
Mm,
wouldn't write anything that didn't give you that at some point. It'd be like going on
yeah.
a date with somebody that you like had zero attraction to, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. It's
You
very
should at
true.
least feel that fire.
Hell yes. And that's why I think it was important for me to send the first 50 pages out to see
Mm.
if the for this project I'm working on, if the fire is there. And so we'll see. But I feel fiery-ish
Yeah.
about this other project.
Do I know which one that is?
I don't know if I've ever really talked about it. I think I have a little bit,
Is it
but
the
like
one, the
it's
vampire chick? I have not forgiven you for giving me those sample pages and not finishing that fucking book because that's one
I
of my
forgot
favorites
about
of
it.
yours.
I forgot about it.
Can
I
you
did.
unforget about it at some point for me? I need to know what happens. But which is the other
Yeah.
one? Maybe you haven't told me. Or can
So
you?
well, this one I need to like work on the lore a little bit, like the whys. It's kind of like gives Lord of the Rings vibes, but not in the way it because of the orcs. Is that what they're called?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's because of them. I'm so scared of those things.
really.
I'm so I am terrified of
The
orcs.
Urukai are even worse when they
Oh,
like
what the
beef them
fuck are
up.
those?
I mean,
Ugh.
it's the same thing, but they beef them up in the latest season. Oh, no, it's not the same thing. I shouldn't say that. They're like crossbreeds or something. They're the biggest,
Ugh.
stronger, the Urukai.
No,
Oh,
don't. I don't like it. I don't like it. I didn't watch Lord of the Rings for many years after I watched the original
really?
ones because it's scary. The idea of something chasing you and something that looks like that constantly
Mm.
chasing you. I can't do Terminator either. I can't.
That's so
Um,
cute. It's so funny, like the things our brains fixate on. I think we each have our thing that we just like, like you watch these ghost things, but you're like afraid of the orcs.
I am. I am because here's the thing. I know without a shadow of a doubt, I would be dead.
Mm.
I can't run very fast. I can't, I'm not escaping an orc.
But why would
There's no
they
way.
kill you anyway? They probably just would want to make you their queen.
Well, let me tell you something, Melanie. I
Just hearing that reel, that audio. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something.
let me tell you something. Let me tell you why an orc would come after me. Okay? I have hobbit feet.
Like hairy toes.
I have we don't need to go into details.
I have hairy toes too, so we can be hairy toe sisters.
We would be dead. We would be dead. They would be like, they have the ring. They're hobbits.
I guess in a weird way, if my hair was blonde, we could be Frodo and Sam.
It could happen. We would be dead on site.
Just
So,
killing me. Because like
yeah.
literally my husband like makes fun of my toes, like jokingly, but calls them like little hobbit feet when I forget to wax them. Which is
Same.
all the time.
100%. Yeah. Oh, yes.
Because it's
Yes.
so far down. I'm just like, and who the fuck is looking? So they'll grow quite luxurious. And he'll just tickle it. He'll be like, for fuck's sake. I love
That's the
how we've
truth.
just single-handedly brought awareness to all like female body hair.
It exists. We have
Right?
it. Yes.
I know.
But anyway, so this this book has like those similar kind of characters is where this is all coming from. And it's all stemming from my toe hairs. This is what it's all about.
I
That's where it's
mean,
all stemming from.
obviously we need it immediately. I'm just like, how have you managed to recover coming from toe hairs to going back to books? You deserve a crown for that.
Thank you. I am professional. I am a profesh.
You
But yeah, I
are.
don't know what else. I don't even know how we got here, but we have 4 minutes left on our timer.
Shit. Shit. What did I there was something I wanted to tell you so bad, but who knows now? We
Well, what
better
have you
just
been?
like
Okay,
read
you've been
her bio.
writing. You've been writing.
Oh my gosh,
Have
the
you done
book.
anything else?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm growing chia sprouts on my book.
Yes, you are. That is the coolest thing. Have
I
no,
can't,
they wouldn't have popped yet.
dude, they have popped. I'm about to do a like not everywhere. So one of my friends was like, "Oh, put a bag over it to speed up the." So like right now, I don't know if you can see that. It's like so
Where is
haunted
it? Oh
looking.
yeah.
It's got like a
Oh,
bag
it has a bag on top of it.
from like
Yes.
firewood and shit to make a little hothouse. So the sprouts are going even
Oh,
faster. So there's a bunch. I'm just like literally after this, I'm gonna do like an update video and I'm taking a photo. So for those of you who haven't seen my deranged alternative book promotion, I'm growing chia seeds on, I'm doing a chia book, if you will, on the horror anthology that I'm in. And it's honestly the most fun I've had on Bookstagram. And people are invested. People are invested in the journey of the
yes.
sprouts. So first I did the crystallized book, which was a lot of fun, but this just feels more deranged and more right for like a
Yeah.
horror anthology. So yeah, I stay
I
tuned.
love this. I love it so much because you are having fun with this and you should, and you're celebrating, and it becomes like really fun for everybody else to be a part of. I love this. And I also feel like you just got to keep going with your horror vibes because
Yeah, me too.
you voice noted me that anthology idea, the short story idea, and it's so fucking, it's so morbid and genius and like twisted. I'm like, Melanie has found her calling. She is twisted, everybody,
She
and
is.
I love it.
I think you're right. But like the funny thing is, I'm not gonna have any, well, it's not funny. I have so many like intrusive thoughts like that one that I shared with you, like that I was just like
Yeah.
immediate horror story and like already have the save the cat in my head to do the skeleton around it straight away. I think that's why I was like able to immediately map it out because I've done Save the Cat so many times. So the beats of story, I was like, well, where does that go? That like horrific moment. So I'm just going to take all my intrusive thoughts and write horror, my friends.
Yes, I love that. An intrusive thought anthology is what you need to
Ooh, oh my gosh, I
figure
love
out how to do
that.
it. Yeah,
I
you got to do it
dang
somehow.
love that. But yeah, it just plays right into all these like weird science experience experiments that I'm like having fun with. And you know what? Like ultimately, I think some people are like, how could you do that to a book? Oh my gosh. Like, or some people think it's wasteful, but it's probably some of the cheapest, most fun book promo I'll ever do to just grow some chia seeds on it. It's like
Yes.
yeah, and like we've got to do what we can, right? Like in this day and age to promote our books, we've got to do what we can, and why not have
Yeah.
some fun?
I love it. I love it. She
Did our
is the
timer go
promo
off?
queen. It's got 42 seconds.
Did you have anything else you wanted to say to today before we read the bio?
Um, the pressure. No, I think I don't think so. I don't think so.
Yeah, well, if you think of something,
I'll see you tomorrow.
yeah, you'll see me tomorrow. I really want you to watch. Oh, that was the other thing. I really want you to watch the Velocipasta. Oh, it's so stupid. I saw it on a reel and I looked it up and it is probably the worst movie you'll ever see, but to the point it's so bad. It's actually enjoyable to watch. Like,
Oh, freaking amazing.
yeah.
Freaking amazing. Yeah. I started watching Priscilla, Queen of the
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Shit. Our timer went
timer's up. Wait, how do I turn this up? Okay. Anyway, well,
You
I guess
just
we
tell
should do
me
our
about that and then we'll do the bio. You started watching it. I don't want
Yeah.
to cut you off. It's not a
No, it's fine.
deadline, 20 minutes. Boom.
We're having the hardest time here. No, I started watching Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah. I started watching it. I'm about halfway through. I loved it. I was dying though because the actor, I can't remember, I don't know his name, but he
Hugo
played
Weaving.
he played is it Mr. Smith
Yeah.
on
Agent
The
Smith.
Matrix? And when I saw him in drag, I was like, holy shit, that's that's Mr. Smith. And
It's
I was
Elrond.
yeah, he fantastic. So I'm about halfway through. I love like the dynamics between all of the characters. Of course, I am here for all of the Aussie culture.
Yeah.
I'm here for it. So I love it. And it really does remind me of Tu Wong Fu, which I think came out like a year later after that.
Okay. I have to watch it.
And yes, you do. I remember like I was probably 10 when it came, when I
Yeah.
watched it, but I remember like loving it. And I watched it many times. And it's got some of my favorite actors ever in it.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, I have to add that one. I was trying to remember the name. But yes, we better read this bio, otherwise I will
yes.
regret it later when I'm editing. And yeah, we're going to talk tomorrow again anyway, so we'll save some
Yeah.
of our zestiness for then. Where is the bio?
Yes.
Do you want to do it today? Is it my turn or your turn?
I believe it's yours.
Just such a great episode with Alex. Like she's just shared so much just I felt like it was just a really deeper look than we've had before, don't you reckon? Like,
Yeah. Oh yeah. I loved hearing like the Australian side of things
mm,
when it comes to publishing. I like it's so fascinating, it's so interesting. And
yeah.
obviously you're in Australia, so we need to know these things.
Yes. And I just feel like she gave us like quite a personal introspective look as well, which I always really appreciate.
Yeah.
So about Alex Adsett is an Australian literary agent and publishing consultant who has been working in the publishing and bookselling industry for for almost 30 years, I believe. She has managed Alex Adsett Literary since 2008. As a literary agent, Alex is always seeking amazing manuscripts with a focus on fiction and narrative nonfiction, especially sci-fi, fantasy, crime, and romance for all ages, from picture books to adults. She's proud to represent an outstanding stable of authors and illustrators, including Melissa Luchesco, Isabella Carmody, Danica McKenzie, Jasmine McGowry, and Hannah Somerville. As a consultant, Alex provides commercial and strategic advice to authors and independent publishers, particularly regarding publishing contracts. She's worked with many independent publishers and thousands of authors, including Miranda Riwo, Sarah Malik, Graham Simpson, Barry Humphries. Oh, Barry Humphries, that's so cool. And Melissa Greenwood. She regularly delivers seminars on copyright and publishing contracts around Australia and has served on various NFP literary boards, including Small Press Network and Queensland Writers Centre. Having started her bookselling career at Pulp Fiction Bookshop in Brisbane, Australia, Alex moved to Murder One Bookshop in London, UK, followed by more than 2 years working for Simon & Schuster, UK. On returning to Australia, she spent 3 years in her dream job as part of the Rights and Contracts Department of Penguin Books in Melbourne before moving to the Contracts Department of John Wiley and Sons Australia. She's often to be found on social media or skulking around bookshops. While she's always on the lookout for exciting new manuscripts, she's only accepting manuscripts in accordance with the submission guidelines. Alex respectfully acknowledges the Yugambeh people, the traditional owners of the land on which she lives and works, and pays her respect to elders past and present.
Amazing. Yeah, we love Alex. This is a really, really great episode. So
Mm.
stay tuned. Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
So good. Melanie was just saying, I don't know where you are, but she was saying in Melbourne, the weather is wild over there.
Yeah, I'm in Queensland, which is
Ah,
warm, sunny, beautiful. There's not a cloud in the sky.
listen, Angela, don't listen to these Queenslanders. They'll make you think that the weather is glorious all year round.
Pretty nice.
Oh
I still
man.
have the heater on, but it is winter here, which is I think 23 degrees Celsius. So
I'm just
that's
jealous.
Nice.
I'm just jealous. We've
yeah.
got like a windstorm blowing here in
Oh
Melbourne.
no.
It's so dark. It could be like evening.
I lived in Melbourne for 3 years. That's all I lasted before I needed to get back to the sunshine of Queensland.
It's
I love Melbourne. I love it, but oh, it's cold.
Uh, I love this. I need to do research, extensive research on Queensland. I've been doing some because I'm in the States, and so I've been
Yeah.
learning a lot about Australia through Melanie. And so every little tidbit I get, I'm always like, I'm gonna Google this. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Whereabouts are you, Angela?
I'm in California, so I'm on the West Coast.
Oh, okay. So you're at least in the well, I thought you were in the warm bit, but one of my best friends is about to move to California and she's saying it's actually cold in the
Yeah,
north.
well, Yeah, it depends on where you're at. I think for Southern California, it's a little bit cooler during the summer. But I'm Northern California, so it's nice and
Mm.
toasty. I've
Oh,
got
good.
my arms out today.
And meanwhile, I'm rugged up here in a nice warm sweater that you sent me, actually. But it's great to have you on the show today, Alex. And yeah, like I feel like a lot of listeners, especially our Australian ones, know who you are. But for those who don't, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Alex. I'm a literary agent. I've been working in the publishing industry for many years, almost 30 years now, which is terrifying. I've been a bookseller. I've worked in London at Simon and Schuster. I've worked in Melbourne at Penguin, back when it was Penguin, not Penguin Random House. I
Mhm.
kept missing the sunshine of Queensland. So I've been contracts manager at Wiley, and starting my own business, first as a consultant and then as an agent, was my way of working in the industry that I'm just madly passionate about, but living where I wanted to live.
Mm.
So being able to kind of control my own destiny from that point of view. But I'm just a mad bookworm. I love reading. Reading is my life. And I'm just very lucky that I've managed to sort of plot out a path in the industry, that I get to live my passion.
That's amazing. Now, just for my own curiosity's sake, is publishing in Australia like similar to us in the States where it feels like New York is the hub? Like that's where everything's happening. Do you guys have a hub in Australia?
We do. Like Sydney and Melbourne are sort of the publishing hubs. The publishers are equally-ish divided between those two cities. And
Mm.
then there's a few publishers scattered around the rest of Australia. But
Mm.
most of the industry is down south. I'm up in Queensland, as I mentioned. So I'm about an hour flight from Sydney and 2 hours flight from Melbourne. But I would actually say there's an advantage with social media, particularly since the
Mhm.
pandemic with Zoom. There's no difference because Australia is such a big country, the authors are everywhere. And because I'm connected to the industry in many, many ways, there's no disadvantage to me being a little bit out of the hub. And it means like kind of a good thing because I say yes to a lot of stuff and I love going to parties. I love talking to industry people. So being a little bit further away is good for me. It stops me going to everything, which
I
I think
love
is
it.
healthy.
Yeah, it's like your roundabout well, not roundabout, very like forced self-care. You just can't.
Yeah,
You can't always say yes.
I know. And particularly, I actually live an hour from Brisbane, which is the
Mm.
capital of Queensland. So, again, that's where the bookshop hubs are, that's where all the author events are. And being just a little bit further away stops me going to everything there as well. So, this
Yeah.
is my plan to not burn out, is to
I
take myself
love
away from the parties.
it.
That's amazing because it's funny because so many authors are so introverted and so you have to drag them to places and so you as their champion, you're ready to go and I
Oh, yeah.
love that.
Yeah. That's the thing. If I go to a normal person party or a barbecue, I'm sort of the shy one. I'm on the edges. But if I go to a publishing party, I'm the last one out the door. I have to be dragged away kicking and screaming. I love industry events. So I
Mm.
get very excited by them.
I love that
That's
so
cool.
much. Well, now I'm excited to ask. We always like to ask our people one random question. What is the strangest thing you own?
Oh God, you actually warned me this question was coming, and I have been this more than any other question. I've been trying to work out what the answer is. I don't know. If, for those who know me, I'm not a very athletic person. I'm sort of short and round and, fairly bubbly, but I'm not athletic. But I've become a mad surfer over the last 4 years.
Yay.
So I guess the strangest thing I own is probably three surfboards and counting. I'm always on Facebook Marketplace looking for new surfboards because one day a magic surfboard will make me a better surfer. Because I'm not very good. I'm just obsessed. So
Mm.
I'm going to go with that. That's my answer.
I love that. I love that now it's also become like a collecting event for you as well,
Oh,
getting
yeah.
the boards. That is fun.
It's a lot of fun and it means I can be in the water. I own wetsuits. I surf in winter now, which I never would have done
This is
before.
very cool. This is very cool. My high school surfer girl heart is like obsessed right now. I
Ah,
could never get up. I'm a very clumsy, tall person. I could never get up on the board.
no, I can't believe this is something I do. I'm so clumsy and unbalanced and uncoordinated. But I'm 46 now. I started learning 4 years ago and I love it. So I'm not good, but I love it.
That's what
Hey, who
matters.
exactly. Like it's something you enjoy and it's something that
Mm.
brings you like happiness. I adore this so much. It's like at any age, just pick something up
Yeah.
and try it.
Exactly. And I wish I was one of those kids that learnt when I was little, but
Mm.
girls didn't surf in the 80s, so nobody ever taught me. And yeah, it's something that brings me a lot of joy and balance because the rest of my life is talking about books obsessively. It's actually kind of
Hmm.
refreshing to be able to talk about something that isn't work. I was like, I have a
Yeah.
whole topic now that I can ramble on and bore people with that is different from the books I'm reading.
That's
Yeah.
brilliant. That's brilliant because my entire personality is writing and books. So having something
Yeah.
outside of it is key. Now, did you always know that you wanted to like be in the industry? Like, how did this all start for you?
Mm.
Look, as a mad reader, I've always been a reader, and that was my life. And I just sort of assumed that someone who was a mad reader would become a writer.
Mm.
So in my head, I was like, I was going to be a writer. That's what I was going to do. And then a writer came to university to give a lecture and mentioned writing and mentioned the drag of it and how tough it is and the drive and how they couldn't actually not do it. And I had this light bulb moment of, oh, I don't actually write at all. And so it was this whole moment of I'm not a writer because writers write. Key fundamental thing that probably should have occurred to me a little bit earlier than it did. Um, but this same author, who was an amazing crime author,
Mm.
as part of her talk to this class, as a throwaway comment, mentioned her publisher. And it was like another light bulb went off very quickly after the first light bulb of, oh my goodness, there is a whole industry out there that's job it is to make books happen. That is what I want to do with my life. And I was 19 at university, and ever since then,
Mm.
that I knew what I wanted to do. So I took myself off to London, got an entry level job in publishing. It actually was everything I dreamed it would be, and I haven't looked back. So even though agenting's been sort of the second half of my career, and being an agent's part of developed from that, the
Mm.
overriding love and driver for me is working in this industry to make books happen, whichever facet of that I happen to be in.
I love this conversation so much. It's very it's giving Big Magic by Liz Gilbert, and I really love that. And I think it's like such an essential part in picking like a creative life. The art of the pivot. I think that's like basically you've just chased the magic of your heart wherever it led you, because you may very well have been quite miserable as a writer, even if you were
Oh
successful,
yeah. Oh no, no.
because of
I don't
how.
have that drive. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's really cool that you were able to be like, I love books, but actually I don't want to write. That part
Yeah.
vexes me. I
I
I
just
want to
didn't want to
be
do it.
like making it. That's so cool.
Yeah. And I mean, apart from authors are often, disorganized and a little bit scatty, and so am I. But I make authors look good because I'm just that little bit more organized. But in the normal world, I'm a mess. So it helps me by being in this industry as well. But
I love
also,
it.
I think authors that I meet, they have a little voice inside them that needs to be written down. Whether they're published or not, whether they're good or not, they have something inside them that needs to write. And I don't have that. What I have is something that if I'm not reading, if I don't have a book on the go or stories in my head that other people have written, I get really twitchy. So I think, I'm a reader, and that's what I bring to this is that just obsessive
Mm.
love for what the author does and creates and wanting to champion them, that just keep cheering them on, going, yep, and what happens next? And what happens next?
Yeah.
Think a lot of
I
people are
feel
going to
it.
feel
Yeah.
seen by this conversation. I feel like there are a lot of readers out there who like assume that they should write a book and like that it's like somehow going to be the pinnacle of things, but like there's such a valuable place for them in like other parts. I love this so
Mm-hmm.
much.
Yes, that
Thanks.
make Very good point, Melanie. I like that. I like where you're
Yeah.
going with that one. Now, do you represent the genres that you love to read yourself, or are you all over the place? Like, can you break down like what sort of list you're carrying? Like, what's your
Yeah,
favorite genre?
that's a great question. When I first started as an agent, I was still very, very nervous and very finding my way. I said that I would only represent genre because that's where I come from as a reader. Those are the communities I have the most to do with. So that's science fiction, fantasy, crime and mystery, romance. So that's sort of where I started because I trust my judgment the most there. That's what I read. I really know the ins and outs of it. But then every time I said, "Oh no, I don't do that," something would come along to make me fall in love with it. So I would be like, "No, I don't do literary fiction." And then an amazing literary fiction with a great hook and great storyline would come my way. Or I would say I don't do nonfiction, and then something would just come away and blow my socks off. So yeah, I do a bit of everything now. And I don't want to say I don't do something because something will come along. I used to say I don't do poetry, but I have an amazing award-winning poet on my list now. He might be the only one, so don't submit poetry to me. But that kind of thing. So I do a bit of everything, and that's pretty standard for agents in Australia. That we do have a pretty broad spectrum, and I know agents in America often, are more specific. Like they might just do kids, or they might just do, literary, or just do genre. So yeah, here in Australia we're a bit broader.
Mm.
And the other thing, and we do that. One of the reasons we do that is in Australia you don't have to have an agent.
Mm,
About half of the authors published in Australia don't have agents, and that's very different to the States where
yeah.
you have to have
Mm.
a literary agent. And the UK is very similar to that as well. You have to have a literary agent, whereas here we're a
Yeah.
lot more fluid.
Oh,
Can
since you
you
brought it,
explain
yeah,
why? Okay, yeah, because I'm
100.
yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us why. Tell us how.
Well, we don't have one answer. One is our industry here is smaller. It's
Mm.
so much smaller that our publishers are still able to talk to authors directly.
Mm.
So while agents do perform a really important function, both in getting authors in front of the right publisher and being their advocate and all the other things that an agent does, um, and also an important role for publishers to rely on agents to kind of clear the slush pile a little. So we're that first pass. But because we're smaller, publishers can still do that themselves. They're going to the conferences, they're finding people. I'd also say Australia's a less litigious society than the States. So I think agents really perform an important buffer in the middle there that protects the author and the publisher by making sure it is all kept professional.
Mm.
Um, I mean, there's so many reasons. One of the other things is we have a huge writing population in Australia. So many amazing, talented writers, but there's only 35-ish agents in the whole
Mm.
country. Whereas in America, I think there's more than 1,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we don't have enough agents to go around.
Mm.
Uh,
It does feel like that sometimes. Do you think that's because there's still that direct access to the publisher, or what do you think the reason for that is? I'm
I
always
think
curious
that,
about this.
yeah, it is that direct connection. I think publishers, we traditionally haven't had that model where you've had to have an agent.
Mm.
It could be also advances are so much smaller in
Yeah.
Australia, like so much smaller. So it's harder to make a living.
Mm.
So it's harder to convince someone to come in and be an agent when you've got to hustle all the time, and even when you get a big deal by Australian standards is like a tenth of the size of a big deal by the US standards.
That
Mm.
makes sense.
Uh,
It does.
yeah, so I mean, look, a lot of really great Australian authors, depending on the genre they're writing in, will go overseas for a UK or an
Mm.
American agent. So that extends that pool. So an Australian author does not have to have an Australian agent. But
Mm.
if they're writing literary fiction or something where the market's very strongly in Australia, then yeah, they don't have that many to choose from. If they're
Mm.
writing kids' books, quite a big portion of my list is kids' books. There's only 3 to 5 agents that do kids books in Australia. So
Mm.
it's a lot smaller pool. It's really hard. So those authors pretty much have to go direct to publishers.
Yeah.
Mm.
I love this. This is so fascinating.
Yeah.
Now, do you, as an agent, like, will you sub out to American publishers or UK publishers? So
Yeah, no,
that's okay.
definitely. Depending on the genre as well. So, particularly science fiction and fantasy is something, the market in Australia is very small. And that is changing with romantasy. Everybody's jumping on that bandwagon.
Yes.
But traditionally, science fiction fantasy, you could only get a deal if you went to the US or the UK. So that's because that's a genre I'm passionate about. That's something I do. I also have sub agents in the US. I've got a kids sub agent who helps with submissions over there. I've got a literary sub agent in America. But crime and women's fiction and romance, I do a bit of myself into those markets as well.
Mm.
You're
Now, are you
staying
doing
busy.
your own query readings or do you have an assistant who does that? Because I can only imagine if you're doing it yourself, how much you have to read every day.
So, I reading manuscripts is the part of being an agent I'm actually worst at. Uh, very, I'm not a slow reader, but I'm slow getting to my manuscripts. And I have a lot. So
Mm.
I actually go weeks and weeks without reading anything and then kind of try to dedicate a whole weekend to it. So my day to day, Monday to Friday, is not reading at all. It's emails and submissions and putting out fires and building up authors' egos and pulling them down if they need to. There's so many little bits that take up the day. So manuscript reading gets done at like 10 o'clock at night, 2 a.m. on a Saturday kind of thing. It's always squeezing into the margins. Uh, but I use a submission portal, which has changed my life. Like it's amazing. So authors now submit to that. I get about 500-ish submissions a year,
Wow.
uh, which I think by US standards is not a lot. By Australian standards, it's quite a bit.
Mm.
And that's just authors that have met me at something or follow the submission guidelines. But I do a first pass of that. I usually have some interns who will help me once somebody's got through the first pass. Um, but yeah, I do have to be where the buck stops. Like I can only take on what I love. So even
Mm.
if all my interns say, "Oh my God, this is an amazing manuscript," I still have to read it, and that's where the delays happen.
Sure. Yeah, it sounds like
Yeah.
you're pretty busy.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
makes sense. Is there anything, and I know we've asked agents this before, and it's such a hard question, but like to answer, but is there anything when you read a manuscript that like stands out? Like what makes a manuscript
Oh,
special or stand out? I know it's impossible.
well, that's two parts of the question. Because one thing that makes a manuscript stand out is an author that follows the submission guidelines.
Really?
And that,
Yeah.
like, honestly, that sometimes you get a submission that goes, I have deliberately ignored your submission guidelines because
Wow.
I want to stand out. And you're like, oh no, no, no.
The
One, arrogant.
audacity.
Two, yeah, it's following submission guidelines and being professional about it and treating this like a business, like the business that it
Mm.
is, one based on passion and love and all of that. That's what makes a submission stand out. But what makes a manuscript special is I don't. It's got to have that magic. Um, and it's not about the spelling and the grammar. It's about, does the characters come to life? Is there a story? Does it start in the right moment? Does it have a great first line? Uh,
Mm.
there's no rule to it, but I mean that's what I'm looking for, are those manuscripts that have just that spark that make me forget that I'm reading a manuscript that feels like a proper book.
The X factor.
Yeah, it's got to be different enough from what's out there to feel fresh, but not so out there that it's, changing, doesn't have something to fit into. I don't know. It's for me, it's got to have a great story, not major plot holes too early. Yeah, it's
Mm.
so many things.
I just have to cycle back a minute as well to like the audacity of people who are sending emails like that still it boggles my mind. Please don't do that, authors.
Don't do it.
It's not gonna help you. It's just gonna like I've got this query slush pile hell that I look up every now and then. Do you have like a horror story? Like, what was the worst one you ever got? Can
Oh,
you share something? It's my
I do.
favorite.
Actually, I used to have on my wall a bingo card, bad pitch bingo. And I did have one that pretty much hit everything in the bad pitch bingo.
Really?
I sadly don't have it on my wall anymore, but it has things like, my mum thinks this is really great. It would make an amazing movie. I've already designed the cover and here it is. I just finished draft 1 and I need you to help me make it better. Like, I
Whoa.
don't read much, but here is a thing I've written. Yeah. So
Yep. Yeah.
This
just
makes me feel so good about the queer adventures. I think that's why I love hearing it. I'm like, there's a lot of like amazing people, but there's also some that's literally why it gets called the slush pile.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're great because you can have a laugh about them and also they're a quick no. Because the ones that kill me are the manuscripts that are professional and wonderful and good all the way through, but just never great. And they're the ones that keep me up at night thinking, oh, is it me? Is it my judgment? Could it be better? The ones that are just really bad or really arrogant and entitled, then you're like, no, don't lose sleep over them. Quick no, done.
Yeah, we love the quick no's. No,
Oh,
we've
we love
had like entire segments where Melanie will read these outrageous queries, and they are so fun to read and hear. Like one was like, I can't
dear,
remember.
I have been spoken to by God, and he
Yeah.
has told me that like this is gonna sell multiple copies. Like, you better get on it before I sell it to someone else. The time is ticking.
Yep. No, I've had one where angels told them what to write.
No.
I had one saying no one else will publish this because if they do, the Vatican will come after them. Are you brave enough to take me on? And I'm like,
Oh.
No, no, I am not.
no. Yeah, there's ones that, will call you a coward for not taking them on. But yeah, like
The absolute
Whoa.
audacity. But I mean, like you said, it
yeah,
makes for an easy no, and you're already so busy.
yeah.
And, hey, easy no's are
But I mean,
good.
and that's to bring it back more seriously. I think some authors seem to have this idea of we're looking for reasons to say no, and in some ways we are, but not because we're being mean and horrible. We want great stories. We want authors to succeed. But when you're getting hundreds and hundreds of manuscripts, any reason, like valid reason to not take something on is what you need to get to the ones that are easier to read more of and to take seriously. So
Yeah.
anything that an author can do to just make their submission as professional and streamlined, as wonderful as possible, will help get them through to the next level.
Honestly, that's fantastic and very practical advice. And you've even mentioned it, some authors are just like going to disregard that because they think that's what's going to make them stand out, but that's the opposite effect. So yeah, very practical advice, I'd say.
Yeah.
Now we touched on it a little bit, but I want to go back to like the day in the life of an agent. I know it changes, but can you like break us down, like what have you been doing today? It's only what, like 11 over there?
It is.
Okay, so how about a normal day that we've had a full day?
Look, it's the bane of my existence is emails coming in. So it's just a lot of the work is in the emails. So my day is sitting at my computer. But this morning, I sat on the deck in the sun, reading a contract for a manuscript. Because one of the things I do when I'm not being an agent is help authors who don't have an agent negotiate their contract. So
wow.
I've got 3 contracts on my desk at the moment. One is for a consultancy author, 2 are for existing authors that have just got deals, which is lovely. I am very nerdy about contracts. I love publishing contracts. I get very excited by them, which is weird, I know.
Wonderful.
So this morning was contracts, and I've got to get those out, get notes to the authors, make sure they're okay with it. I've got a deal coming through. So I'm waiting for submissions on that. I'm planning to do a course to teach authors about the industry. So I'm putting a call out for that. I have an author flying into Queensland tomorrow for an event tomorrow night, and he's coming over from the other side of Australia. So I'm kind of, making sure that we're all set up for the event. I've got another author's event on Friday, so I'm ordering cupcakes. Like,
It's a lot.
gosh, and these are just the fun things. This isn't, counting just the little things that people are emailing saying, has my advance come in yet? When are my royalties due? And publishers emailing saying, that author that was supposed to have their manuscript in last week, where is that? So it's a lot of bitty little things, none of which are the actual what people think an agent does, which is reading manuscripts and sitting down. Yeah. And then my urgent things for this week are to read 3 manuscripts by my existing authors. So they can't sit in the slush pile for weeks and weeks. These are authors that I already love and owe a duty to, and I'm excited about their manuscript. But even though I'm excited to read, the reward is reading, I still have to try to fit those manuscripts somehow into the week. And I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do that, but I will.
You can do it. But I think it's so great to hear, and this is honestly why we love having agents on, because especially recently wait times have been so long in the query trenches and on submission and everything. So I think just hearing what an actual day looks like in an agent's life, it's very easy to understand why it can take so long to get to things, because there's simply not another slot in the day. You can only read so fast, all those things. Like,
look, absolutely. And I mean, there's so much. Occasionally I will have half an hour and I'm like, okay, I can't read a full manuscript, but I can maybe look at my submission portal and maybe get some quick no's out. So that at least gives an author some answers and some certainty. And I feel like the guilt is overwhelming. And I don't know if other agents have said this, but for me, the guilt is always there about the authors that are waiting in the slush pile, my existing authors who I know, I can always do more for. There's always something more I could be doing for my authors. And it's every time I'm doing something for me, which is so necessary to avoid burnout, there's still that, oh, but I should be still at my desk. Oh, just one more email, just one more thing. And it's trying to balance that overwhelming guilt because I know how much people have invested in their work, and I respect and value that so much. But there's only so many hours in a day.
100%. I wonder if maybe that's why surfing's so great, because you can't have your phone in the water. Like you are shut off.
Yeah. You're shut off. My brain has to just focus on the water and the waves, and that's kept me sane. And walking my dog on the beach in the evenings has kept me sane.
Yeah.
And occasionally allowing myself to read a book with an actual cover.
That's gotta be, because I mean, I know when I first started writing, and even still, like it becomes such a struggle to just read books for pleasure because it's now the job. So like finding the time to read a book with an actual cover, I feel that so hard.
But I know I have to do it because if I forget what good is if I'm not reading proper finished books as well. But I start to get twitchy and burnout, and it's not good for my mental health if I don't have proper books on the go as well. But it's such a weird quirk of our industry that if you ask publishing people and other agents as we get into the summer holidays, which is our Christmas, sort of go, oh, what are you doing on your holidays? And their face lights up and they start telling you about the books they're going to read. And I'm exactly the same. I have my pile of books that I saved for my summer holiday. And it's that we spend all year moaning about how much reading we have to do. And then when we get to holiday, that's what we're doing anyway, is reading. Because we love it. Because that's why we're in the industry.
That's it. That's exactly it. That's the magic. We love books and words and all of it. No, you mentioned the guilt that you have to battle through. Would you say that's the hardest part about your job?
Oh, I don't know. Yes, the guilt's pretty bad. I've learned to live with it, I think, and talk myself out of it. It's just a voice in my head that I have to manage. I know the hardest part of being an agent is not like it used to be for me rejecting anyone. I hate hurting people's feelings. Now I've kind of narrowed that down to the hardest part is if it's one of my existing authors and I've loved their previous manuscripts and then they send me something and I don't love it. And there's this, oh no, is this the end of the road? No. And then, and it usually isn't. Like there's usually a way around it. But there's always that moment of, I'm going to really have to break their heart. And it breaks my heart. And then it becomes this spiral of heartbreaking and it's terrible. So I've
Wow.
decided that's the hardest part.
Yeah, I never even thought about that. That does sound pretty tough to deal with.
Yeah.
But I guess it's just all part of this creative. That's the thing, like, and I'm so glad I've read that book, Big Magic, because that's the thing, like, you can land one book and it can be the best thing ever. And then the next one might be a flop. But that's just the nature of the beast. Like, it's just the nature of being a creative person. And yeah, it must be very tricky to navigate that part.
It is. And that vulnerability that authors do, like time and again, to put their heart, on the page, have that risk getting knocked back is so tough. But I guess, the balance of that is that magic, and this is the magic for an agent as well as the author, is when it works, when everything falls into place and you're reading something and it's singing and it's, that nothing beats that feeling when you're like, I've got a diamond that's going to change the world.
Yes. I love it. I love it. I honestly, I can feel like your energy and excitement for books and your clients from all the way over here across the pond. Now, would you say like when you find that magic manuscript, is that like your favorite part about being an agent, or like what is the very, very best thing about your job?
The best part is that I do get to talk to people about the book. So it's not like, it's pretty special when you find that one, that manuscript that's gonna, that you just is gonna work. But the best part is when you go out with that manuscript and you get to talk to people about it. And that excitement and trying to make it contagious. So this book is so good because, and you have to read it because it's this, and it's going to make you laugh and cry and change your life and change the world and all of these things. And then having that conversation with someone who has read it and feels the same way, that moment of connection where you're like, yes, this is amazing. So it's those fangirl moments is almost the best. So I've got this incredible author, Jodie McAllister, whose rom-com has just come out in the US this week, called Not Here to Make Friends. But Jodie delivered her next manuscript, her next rom-com, and her publisher at Simon & Schuster and I got on a call before Jodie appeared, and we just fangirled about how good this manuscript was before the author even rocked up. And then we had to do it all over again with her. So it's that moment of, yes, I've got an ally and we love the same book. It's the best.
Yes, I'm a Jodie fangirl. I loved her YA Valentine. That was the one I told you to read, Montoya. That's such an epic YA series. So yes. Yes, for all the good books. Now, the big question, are you open to queries at the moment? If so, what are you looking for?
Look, I am open. I'm always open, always looking if people follow the submission guidelines. But saying that, I've actually not taken on anyone new in a year because my list is so full and I'm being so picky and my existing authors are so amazing. But I don't know. I guess I am looking for a really great rom-com. I'm looking for a really fantastic romance fantasy. Something, I don't know, but I'll know it when I see it, I guess. I'm very lucky that 3 agents have recently joined my business. So there's now 4 of us. So I'm not just me on my own. I have a team. So I kind of love that if something amazing comes my way, but I just kind of don't have a capacity, I'm able to see if those guys want to read it as well. So I can keep amazing authors in the agency, but they're taking it on a bit more.
Yeah.
But no, I don't know. If an author meets me at something, and I know there's some really good ones in my slash path that I'm keen to read, but I haven't got to yet. So yeah.
Yeah. I saw Lisa Fuller recently started with you guys, didn't she? Yeah, we're having her on later in the year. So it's exciting.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Lisa's amazing. So
Oh,
she's helping with my kids list, but she's also an incredible author. Tell you
the
what,
book Ghost Bird, like, was one of the most frightening, like, best written piece of writing I've ever read. Like, chills. The voice was just like probably one of the best voice books I've ever heard. I've ever
yeah,
read, rather.
it's so good. And so that book, I read Ghostbird before I met Lisa. And I love that book
Mm.
so much. I talked her into becoming my friend and then into letting me be her agent. And then I talked her
Mm.
into becoming an agent.
I love it.
Because she's an amazing person, but also that book is so good.
It's so good.
That is-
Everybody get that book. It's frightening.
Yes,
Keep the lights on, but it's
yes.
so,
There were
so
bits that
good.
I had to stop reading at night and start reading during the day.
I'm gonna have to freaking read this. I'm excited. Well, I see
Yeah.
our time is dwindling down. So honestly, thank you so much for joining us. This was so great.
No, my absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Yes, we will let you go. Hopefully there's some surfing in for today at the end of the day.
Not today, but maybe later in the week.
Maybe.
Awesome.
Maybe.
That sounds glorious. Well, yeah, thank you so much for coming
Thank
on and
you.
sharing your wisdom with us. It was really fantastic.
No, I love talking about the industry and love what you guys are doing. So thank you.
Thank you.
It's going to
Have
cut
a
us off any
great
second.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See ya.
Bye.
See ya.